Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Indie CD 411. Thanks for joining in with us tonight. I am very pleased to have everybody here. It looks like the comments are jumping already, so I appreciate that from everybody. To kind of give a little bit of an idea what this show is about, it's to represent the members of the Independent Creator Directory, ran by the amazing Mr. Joe Bachman, and it's to help spotlight the people that are on there if they have number of different things, if they have something going on with crowdfunding, if they have something going on with an event, they just want exposure, if somebody's working on something, they just can't quite get through it and they want to do it as kind of a team thing and get everybody together, a meeting of the minds, because Lord knows what our minds meet when they get together. So that's pretty much what this show is going to be. So if you're interested in ever being on here, let us know. It's not going to be a regular show. It's going to be a fill-in show between Joe and Trelana's the coding, burning, and fiber arts and all that stuff. So it's going to be a fill-in show. With it being the first show tonight, we have something really exciting coming up here in a couple weeks in Fowler, Indiana. And that is going to be StompCon. So, without further ado, we're going to bring on the mastermind of StompCon, Mr. Nicholas Anthony Talker.
Hi, folks.
Hi. I think you know a lot of the people in the chat, and a lot of people know you, but in case anybody's joining us,
all right.
Do you have any, if you want to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of 411 on yourself?
It's not often that I get to break out my whole full title thing with the CEO and all that. You know, I am one of the evil corporate overlords. But my name's Nick Talker. I'm a freelance author, artist, sword master, and retired paranormal consultant. I do game design, RPG design, and war game tactics gaming design. And what happened is we're going to be having a StompCon, which is an independent gaming convention. It will be free to the public. It will be free to the vendors, right? Basically, it's going to be, they can pay what they can to help me be able to afford next year. And I'm doing that because there's never an assurance of the first year of any event. So we're trying to just be there for the community and help out. I love doing what I do. It's just very hard to define because I'm kind of scattered all over the place. I wear way too many hats, but I make them all look good.
Aren't we all? Wearing too many hats.
Absolutely. But okay, I can keep prattling. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to just. But the basis of this is for the last about 16 years. Mm-hmm. Longer than that, but for the last 16 years, I've been running a game called Big Stompy Robots that was originally developed in part because I found out I was going to be a father. And at the time, I was working with special needs folks, and I was playtesting and trying to sign on to be a demo runner for a couple companies, including Reaper Miniatures. And I play tested Reaper's Cav. I play tested on BattleTech's, what is it, Alpha Strike, the latest one, as one of the actual gameplay testers to see if it all worked and such. So I did a lot of the inside of the game design and such. I love these games, but I realized they were all too complex for a casual player and far too expensive. And my background comes from when I was a little kid, I was very poor. And I couldn't afford comic books. I couldn't afford these fancy games, but I could get for free the Reaper Reaper Miniatures catalog. It was called the Casket Works catalog, and that's probably the most influential document on so much of what I do, because the majority of it was fantasy art, fantasy miniatures, and then art. They would show the art the miniature was based on, and most of it was by an incredibly talented artist named Talon. And the back was advertising Reaper's tactics game Cav, uh, combat armored vehicles. I believe it's been a while, and I loved it. The big, thick, chonky mecha and tanks and things blowing each other up on the table. It's great, it's fun, but of course, I could not afford any of that.
Mhm.
A lot to get into a lot of the games, you needed $50 in 1980, 89, 1990s. That's a lot. That's a lot more money than we're thinking now. But since I couldn't get into that, I was rather novel. I'd wait till the 4th of July, gather up all the fireworks sticks, the square balsa wood parts that are on the bottom of a skyrocket, clean them up, and the other miscellaneous pieces, and build my own miniatures out of that. And I ended up designing a system so that anyone could play this kind of game. Very simple, very easy rules that I could take when I was working with the special needs clients in Valparaiso. I could, because they'd hear us talking about the other games we demoed and did. Myself and a gentleman named Benjamin Starkey, who's sadly not with us. But we worked on that, and Ben was part of a group that ran charity gaming conventions, and it's actually where I got my start as a vendor, because he had this one really, he said, as he put it, he had this annoying space between a pylon and the stairs in the Valparaiso Armory where they were holding the convention. So I rented that at a significant discount to just squeeze in a little folding table and do on-site art, commissions. And then I ended up, it became a thing where I'd work the convention, set up and tear down to pay for the fact that I was, during the convention, doing art stuff. And then, it expanded. And I ended up working that convention, 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Doing that in the background, making big stompy robots. Originally it was a one-on-one, very simple game. It expanded into the core rule book. There will be copies of this available at StompCon, shockingly. But,
and I did drop the link for that through your Amazon into the chat, and I see that Mr. Bachman, who is helping us on the back end today. Had to get one green room in there, I suppose. He's dropped the links for your Indie CD page.
Thank you. I've been, I've done enough of the streaming thing that I have like half an eye that is always watching the chat. You do it long enough, you just, I'm constantly watching the sidebar. It's why I can't stand Discord shows, because the guest can't see the chat during a Discord show. You're just in a black vent, and it's actually claustrophobic. You're doing it this way. Not sponsored by StreamYard, but StreamYard, if you want to throw some money our way, it would be much appreciated. But yes, and I made this, and I added a whole bunch of really fun world lore and building. And now there's 2 novels in the set. There's an expansion that I'm working on. I have to run the last play tests and start manufacturing to prototype it. And that's the full version I've been building to this for probably 20 years.
Wow. So this
really
is
hard work. So I'm looking forward to that. I will be taking some time out of the convention to do some on-site art stuff myself, because I always try to keep, my hand on the pen a little bit. But it's going to be a great time, a very busy time. I'm looking forward to everyone who's coming out, both to vend and to just hang out. The the format is not designed for profit. Eventually, I'd like to get where I can split the cost of the hall among myself and all the vendors and have that just be the rent, so I'm assured to go next time. But beyond that, I don't want to charge people because I believe that gaming is an art, and all arts are for everyone. So there needs to be accessibility. It's funny, I was talking to my wife, and Mandy and I were talking, and you guys don't know it because she's demure. She's mindful, but she has been running around in the background, securing things and making sure everything works. I could not do any of this without her. So I really want to make sure that she gets all the props in the world, even though she's completely camera shy beyond measure and, hides herself. Although she does write good books. Go buy Coy Wolf. It's a great read. Anyway.
I've met Manda. She is an absolutely adorable and amazing. And I love her. Hi, Manda. If you're watching, and Xander, you know who you are if you're watching.
Right. Unfortunately, they aren't able to watch the broadcast because it's no secret I broadcast out of Earl Park. And this coming weekend is the Earl Park Festival where the town goes from 300 to 10,000. So for about 2 weeks of the year, my already unstable services may or may not be there at all. So to make this work, we have to make sure all our cell phones are off, airplane moded, and nothing can be connected. And we're just, not quite, putting a ring of salt around the router, but containing the Earl Park field and the Nick field at the same time. It's a big ask. But she's doing great. So, what other questions do you have? How can I help you help me? Uh-oh.
I think the Nick field may have...
Did I freeze Dawn?
Oh, dear yeah. Lord.
All right, folks. I guess I will be... I'll be talking about myself, which is one of my favorite topics. So, welcome to WNTF 95.5. Smooth jazz in the evening. But yes, I'm really excited about StompCon. It's going to be a great time. It's also a great time for the folks who watch these broadcasts and kind of hide in the wings. If you can make it to Fowler, Indiana, you can meet these wonderful people in person. Some people are coming quite far out. Dawn lost power.
Oh, no.
Welcome to the wonderful world of broadcast, Dawn. I don't know how this is my fault, but somehow it is indeed my fault.
The Nick field is strong this evening.
Power overwhelming.
Well,
the day N. Bison visited your village is the most important day of your life. To me, it was another Tuesday. Anyway, bonus points for that obscure reference. But let me see.
So I know we were talking a little bit before the show about what vendors are going to be there. Yes. I don't know if we got into that really in depth yet here because I'm trying to multitask and
you're
so I was
fine.
Only like half listening to what was actually going on so far.
We started. We kind of skirted around it right before because what happened is I had a nearly full house. And then as happens when you're dealing with small vendors and first-timers and independent folks, especially with gas prices and such right now, I set everything up. And when it came time to start talking about the money, a whole lot of people suddenly backed out. This is not my first rodeo. So I understand. I know the folks who did it because they're just waiting to see how first year happens. And the folks who did it because, it's very easy to plan and think about putting your game out there. It's a lot like being an author. There are a lot of people who are in love with the idea of I'm going to be an author, but are terrified to make the jump when it's time to, okay, now you need to submit it. Now you need to get that published because imposter syndrome or whatever.
Yeah.
So we had to scramble around, but one great group we have is By the Board. I believe they're out of Lowell, and they're an amazing game shop, an amazing group of people that through ArcticCon and RegionCon I've dealt with many times.
Yeah, we both have.
And
I want to jump back for a second though. You're talking about game designers getting their games out there.
yes.
One of the big things is playtesting, in which we've done tons of playtesting with BSR over the years.
Yes.
And for anybody who's designing a game, or thinking about designing a game, find the smaller conventions like StompCon, like RegionCon, and get a spot and demo your game there. I've participated not only in the BSR playtest with Nick at RegionCon and ArcticCon, but one of the last years it was ArcticCon.
Yeah.
Or maybe it might have been RegionCon already. I don't know. Those kind of blend. I took place in a playtest for a dungeon crawl that somebody had created. And I ended up getting their dungeon crawl off Kickstarter. But those small conventions are where you're going to find a ton of gamers and a ton of people that are going to be like, "Ooh, something new, something shiny. Let me break it."
And that's what you need. You need people who are going to try to strain any system.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where a lot of the modern tendency in game design to be very complex. Complex systems fail easier because there's very precise moving parts. And Don, please, I'm watching the chat. Don, do not feel bad about the power outage. It happens.
It happens, and no one expects that or the Spanish Inquisition.
But and yeah, I've seen that. I also want to recommend, while we're talking conventions, LodgeCon at the beginning of November it's a little north of Bourbonnais, Illinois. It's a little harder to get into this year than in the past. As a vendor, they're actually doing juried selection to see if you're making it. So I'm not even 100% sure I'm going to be able to get in again, but I'm reasonable enough. We've booked the hotel kind of situation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a chance to go to that, it's great because the larger conventions, one, have become so price prohibitive that you can't get into them, and they're so crowded, it's very hard to enjoy them or interact with the vendors much, and you're going to end up missing huge swaths of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, a lot of things. Gaming is one of those wonderful industries where you get these two tiers, and you get the very powerful, high-end, Hasbro dominated. You've got Wizards of the Coast and other companies, but and then you have this just tremendous gap, and then you have the next level of just the Wild West, rugged kind of, real prospectors of dopamine out here, trying to just make these games out of love and craziness, and that's kind of what we do. And I just love it. And what I realized was, from where I was, I could go so far in the different cardinal directions at parts of the year and find a game, but there was nothing for part of it and nothing in any, a couple of the directions. So I'm like, if you can't find, the place, you have to make the place. It's kind of like the Uncle Iroh clause.
Mm-hmm.
So being me, and Joe's laughing because he's seen me do this too many times on too many fields. Oh, you're having trouble finding a Western martial arts group? Well, I guess I'll make one. You can't do this? That's fine. If you build it, they will come is kind of my jam. And that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing with the IndieCD.con, which everybody loved. I want to say last year, but it was actually early this year, I think, because it was in February, right?
Yeah.
And we are planning to do that again. That's all lined up. And
sorry, I think Dawn's trying to get back in. She needed the code to be able to sign back into StreamYard. So
okay,
so she should be coming back in here shortly.
Wonderful. But that's what I'm kind of going for with this, is that same stair-step convention to bring people, bring small businesses, and like I said, we were talking earlier about the vendors.
Mm-hmm.
In the course of me having this convention set up, about 2 months before our convention, it comes out that Fowler's getting a little tiny game shop out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we have to invite them because a lot of the big companies are trying to squeeze out the little friendly local game shops because they want you to order everything direct. And a lot of gaming it's in the interest of them. Hello, Kitty. To try to go pure digital because it's easier to control and there's no middlemen. They get to keep the money. But I'm a bit of a relic. I mean, I was there when D&D books were being burned during the Satanic Panic, And I think there's always going to be a place for low-cost, high-fun, accessible gaming. And that's just what we're doing there. And it hits the imagine Don Quixote fighting the power lines because of the heat exhaustion.
Actually, the heat may have been the cause of her power outage.
Oh yeah,
because I don't know if you were in the back room yet. She had said something about the heat index was like 106 or something.
Yeah, it is straight about 15 minutes before I came into the sit for the show. It was 104 straight, not indexed in my front yard. So it's just brutal heat, and that's going to happen. But I love the gaming conventions above almost all of them. All the conventions I've gone to, because I've gone to a lot of conventions of different sorts, because I find the gaming conventions have the most diverse spread of offerings. Usually you have some really interesting vendors you can't find anywhere else. You have the local LARP groups and HEMA guys may show up to do recruiting, the cosplayers. I'm hoping some year to be able to get the 501st down in some way. We haven't been able to pull that off this year. I'm kind of saddened by that, but it's also first year stuff. But it's cool.
Not able to get in, neighbors having a brownout.
It happens.
That happens, and I will do my best to make your first episode as good as possible. She did send me a picture of what she had kind of planned to talk about. So, but if you want to talk more about what vendors are going to be at TopCon, and then we'll kind of move on. I kind of made you jump back when you're talking about the whole, game designers being like authors and needing to get their stuff out.
Right. Right now, the people who are coming is we have 2 game shops, because as I was saying, it's important to support the brick and mortar shops. Mm-hmm. White Boot Arms and Artistry will be there with basically everything we do. This is one of those I had to talk to Mandy about. I'm like, no, we're not going to do a narrow version. We're going to put everything out like we always do. We are going to have a couple artists. Shadows in the Attic, Kitty. Yes, we have another Kitty in our group.
Mm-hmm.
She's coming with a friend of hers who is a gentleman I don't know, but due to Kitty's health, she has to have someone come along.
The same guy that was there at no, okay,
it's a different guy, which is fine because I've seen his art. It looked impressive. We'll just see. You're going to be there, Joe. The burning as Joe should be setting up at that, right?
So Mag's Mischief Fiber Arts will be setting up. I'm going to be there just to kind of be support and help where needed, whether it be play testing or whatnot.
Okay.
Because I don't have nearly enough stockpile right now to try and set up.
Okay. No, that's fine. I'm just glad you're going to be there in any aspect.
Yep.
And that will be helpful because having more people to run the tourneys and demo things lets me, when I have to put on my, the showrunner, shorts and go handle whatever needs handled. And so we're going to have Donna, Carleen, and Carl coming down. Alex Creations will be there. I hope you'll be. Oh no, you get to vend and okay, you get to vend and Alex, because you're going to be there. You should have an opportunity to sell your stuff. See, if Joe wanted to sell the wood burnt stuff he has, he can just shove it on the side of Trey's display, and she'll just have to deal with it. You should have seen how things were. Originally, it was my table, and then Manda started doing a couple things, and then I got squeezed to the side because her stuff was bigger. And then we got another. Then I got the side table, and we brought it around, and then we brought more people in, and I got ratcheted out. It was hilarious because it finally got to the point where I walked up, and one of our friends, mutual friends, was sitting in my spot, and I had to go, okay, I love that you're here. I love that you're hanging out, but I need to be at my table selling my stuff. You got to give me my own room, But no, it's great fun, and there is nothing like the human interaction of sitting down and playing a card game, or sitting down and playing all sorts of things. And Dawn will be here representing Foxy Thesis, Holocon, and Ted Tiller. Okay. Hang on. Let's see. Do I have the authority to do this? Yes, I do. Okay, cool. So we know that, and that is wonderful, Dawn.
Yep.
And yes, we are contacting, there could be as many as 4 food trucks. And there will be inside people selling snacks because of the family tree. I keep forgetting that my booth will be up there, like when I'm listing these off in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be quite a bit. And yes, Trey, Alec will probably be cosplaying. I've seen pictures. And yes, grant draws at 8 tonight. So we have a half hour before we should be courteous. Or not. I don't care. I'm promoting my stuff on somebody else's show. It's not my fault. I can't be held accountable. I'm just the guest. And, while we're talking about what kind of guests we are, we probably should take a minute and
I was going to say, let's run an ad here real quick. We'll wrap up talking about StompCon after the ad, and got a couple more topics you wanted to cover with you that you do either on a weekly basis, a 3 times a week basis, or I'm going to do a random recording and drop it basis.
Right.
So
we'll see y'all in about a minute and a half right here on WNTF. Never mind. Furthermore, I mean, what? No, IndieCD.411. I don't know what I'm talking about.
All right, and we are back. So, StompCon is
Yep.
going to be in just a couple weeks in Fowler, Indiana, and here is the full. Oops, let me go to the correct thing here. There we go.
No, we had to both run the things. Yep. StompCon is a free to the public indie tabletop gaming convention where it will be held September 7th, 2024. I'm sorry, I noticed something that should have been removed. So no. There. We don't have to have the duck up so we can actually read things. From 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. it'll be open to the public. And it will be at Benton County Co-op Extension, 410 South Aidway A, Fowler, Indiana, 47944. Now, there was some concern because during IndieCD.con, people were upset about the lack of signage. Now, what they failed to compute was there were also 35-mile to 50-mile-an-hour gusts going through, and there was more than adequate signage that is scattered somewhere around Illinois by the time the event happened. I found the remains of one sign that had been just sheared off, just snapped. So we will be trying to do different, more useful signs. Please use your Google Maps. It's not hard to get to. It's just getting onto 52 and then taking a westward turn. It's really, really simple. But
Yep.
I want to cover that little concern. It's going to be great. They're going to let the vendors and I will have a good portion of time the night before to set up, and then we'll be there a couple hours before to let the vendors set up. And one of my policies whenever I run a convention is to deliberately have a block of time at the beginning and at the end, after the public has left, where the vendors can get up and be sure to look around each other's tables and cross sell and buy, because that's something sometimes at a real busy con you may never leave your seat. And I've been to enough of those where I spend the whole day demoing. I don't know if anything's happened at my table, or vice versa. I'm at the table and I see some angel is sitting there running BSR for people because I'm drawing till my wrist falls off. And Amanda's handing things and taking money and telling me numbers and things that do not stick. The brain is smooth, no wrinkles.
But anyway.
Yes.
So you do more than just StompCon. Yep. HFG, the Historical Fencing Guild. Let's talk about that for a little bit here real quick.
Oh, wow. Let's get into that. The Historical Fencing Guild is the child of a deranged person who could not stand seeing people being discriminated against and not being allowed proper training. And said mad lad decided, well, fine, I'll do it. That being me, of course. I was formerly a member of a international recreation group. I'm going to try to avoid saying names, but and one of the first people to try to teach me to sword fight. I don't consider him my sword master, but he was somebody I did learn from. Wanted me to be a formal student, and he would come because we were at Purdue North Central. Oh, we're going way back now, guys. We're back at 2001, 2002, because I've been doing this for going on 25 years. I've been teaching people to sword fight, so I've got a quarter of a century of teaching people to sword fight. And what happened that started this was he divided the group between all the tall, skinny, athletic men who also happened to, share my discomfort at being exposed to the sun, And then everybody who was everything else was pushed to the side. He said, I'm not going to waste my time on them. I'm going to work where my time will be accepted. Do what you can with those. And being me, I'm like, okay. And I devoted myself to working with women and people with handicaps and people with other physical limitations. And I basically built almost my whole being around teaching people to sword fight that others would neglect.
Mhm.
After 20 years of doing it, I have the privilege of having taught over 200 people, well over 200 people. I lost count after a while. Either in short sessions or multi-year continual sessions. And the vast majority of the people I work with are trauma survivors, SA survivors, uh, uh, those who've nearly lost the battle with depression, as well as an inverted side working with a few American veterans who had measures of PTSD, and basically they were trying to learn how to control the anger and wrap it down in
Mhm.
polite society and not use the skills they developed to deal with things perceived as threats.
Yep.
So it's been my privilege to be of use to these people. And then while all this was going on, I was holding workshops for a while at the library just to give, people would come to the other group's practices, and they would get to fight and maybe spar, but they could never discuss theory. There was no time to sit and talk about form or theory or the manuals, the actual historic documents we should be building on. So I started working with that, and that's when I was really just deep diving all the documents. And some of the people I was working with, great guy, but completely dyslexic, can't process the manual. And during that time, I spent several years working to become we'll say, a referee in that organization.
Mhm.
And I, after making all the conditions, I was told that I had lied on my submission, which I didn't. And all the work I'd done for many years was just stripped of me under allegations that I was doing things that were quote unquote illegal. And that was under the premise that they allegedly had information from people following me around with hidden cameras and cameraing my home, recording and trespassing on my home. So there was a whole dust up.
Mhm.
And I just kept doing what I do, and I keep independent there so that I can help people without ever tainting them. And so because of that, I've been able to work with people in AmpGuard. I've been able to work with people in Canarak, work with people who've specialized in Eastern martial arts, work with, at one point, one of the guys I was working with, I wouldn't say a student. I was early on, early on, he was a bit of a student, and I taught him stuff. But then he got into Olympic fencing, and he nearly got to try to qualify, but his knee blew out. And then he came back with some other martial arts, and we still worked together. But it's been a privilege because I chose not to go the path that would have been, I hate to say, self-serving. I've been able to help a whole lot of people, and because I had to move essentially 100 miles away from most of my students, I started doing a live stream because when I moved, it was right before the lockdowns started to happen.
Mhm.
And I was forced, I wanted to maintain a contact point and still be there to give advice and review and, review products out there. So I started the Historical Fencing Guild YouTube channel. And you can see some very young, still had toner in the system, Nix. If you go through the earlier videos and watch sparring videos, last while, because I haven't had as many people in access, it's been more theory and product review and how to improve your solo training, practical applications. But
Mhm.
I'm still on it. I'm still writing manuals, and they are my best-selling items through Amazon. The Simple Sword has been in 14 countries, 16 countries. I know my art's been in 38, published in 38 countries, but the Simple Sword was the first manual I put together, and it took me 15 years to write it because I cobbled my notes together. And what I did was I studied all the classic historical manuals, and instead of going for what their secret arts are, which a lot of people are like, what's the secret? What's this? I looked for what do they all agree on. And between 40 and 60%, all the manuals agreed on, but they were saying it in different ways, in very complex, usually having to be translated from foreign language systems. So I built a system. Hi, I see you.
Give a thumbs up if you want to be added in.
That looks like a thumbs up. We are visited by the Phantom of the Opera.
I feel like Dawn is now doing the interview from Witness Protection.
Well, I did mention the Historical Fencing Guild, and cults have pursued us in the past. I am very sorry, Dawn. Don't worry. The designated SCP professionals will be there to clean up that mess. Just don't make any sudden movements.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for carrying on the show. I don't want to waste too much of my battery, but I wanted to pop on and thank you guys all for helping out. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with whatever this is.
This is a good sign. If your first show kind of tanks, banks, and tumbles, that
means you're going to be fine. Joe Dog's show should go perfectly then.
Yeah, well, everything's going to go. Yeah, it'll go fine. This is actually tradition. You'll notice I was not even phased. There was no upset, no shock, no horror. Man,
I do have a face.
I expect to see Michael Myers come press his face on the other side of the window with that setup.
At least I have the giggles, and that's something that's important, especially since everybody seems to want me to giggle at times. This is not the way to do it next time, people.
Oh, here. I'll do this for you, Dawn, so you feel better. Okay.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And right before the power was going to go out, I was going to click on my Bunny Bees because I wanted to show off Nick's artwork.
I can do that.
So if one of y'all be so kind.
Yep.
These are Dawn's fashionable felines. Georgette and Buddy. You can find them on Facebook.com/Georgette and Buddy, The Misadventures of Dawn's Cats.
But what I really wanted you to show them for was because Nick drew those, and he does take commissions if anybody's interested.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do take commissions. I, like most things, I slide my pricing scale around to be as facilitating as I can. And I will be doing commissions both at the convention. I do live sit down. I will draw stuff for you right there and hand it to you. I take commissions online. However, I take a hiatus a couple weeks before most conventions so that I can get my convention stuff done. I also will have a large number of prints available. I'm looking to try to get some more of the new stuff that you guys may have seen me do on my Wednesday shows when I do. I draw the thumbnails for Nevermind the Furthermore. So that's usually going on. And yeah, it's like I said, I have my hand in a lot of pies. I'm out here just trying to make the world a little more interesting, and maybe a little brighter, because there's way too much seriousness. There's way too much grumpiness. And I know that sounds almost like an immature reaction to anyone who's paid attention to current events for the last 4, 6 years, 8 years. But I think it's important that we do acknowledge how immature a lot of the idiocy that we see is. And instead of reacting to it, with the negative customary, acknowledge that how silly are these people, and I find it very liberating. So
Mhm.
All right.
yeah, I've been now art I've been doing forever. I credit my heavy start in art to a woman who right now she's going by the handle Cami Veit. I went to school with her, and she works for Blizzard, doing
Oh, okay.
icon design for the game company. Her husband does some higher end art, but that's acknowledged. They're both incredible artists, and it's one of those people I've had the pleasure of knowing for 30 years. So it's really, really cool. But I started with her and some others sitting around a table writing stories back and forth and trying to draw bad comic books, and a lot of people grew out of it, and I've just never stopped because I may be an adult, but I don't have to grow up. There is a difference.
There is a difference. I mean, there's a reason why there's Legos in the cave.
Yes, yes. I am in awe of the Lego Cave, and I could not say anything considering the vast number of Nerf firearms that are surrounding me at this given point. But I love them, and I really believe if it's not hurting something, everybody involved is consenting. Why not have fun? I'm sorry, too many people have, in the guise of growing up, forsaken the joys in life, and I am adamantly and passionately against it because you have to have stuff to live for, or you don't want to live. And right now,
Exactly.
many people have been surviving. So it's why I don't go out without a goofy looking Hawaiian shirt, because I know, and this really started heavily again in the before times that we don't speak of, but I knew if I had to go out and I wore a Hawaiian shirt, some kid would laugh, and that might be the first time they laughed in weeks. So I'm not afraid to play the clown a little bit, and the joy of being a geek is that you can be unrestricted in your enthusiasm about being passionate about the things that you do, and you can share that with others, and there's that resonance. Some of it borders on the neurospicy, and I acknowledge that freely, but I also, like I said, I acknowledge and I accept that. If you need different things to happen in the world, you need people who think differently.
Right.
And that's kind of where I get to slide in, where a bunch of people on this network, on the Indie CD network, slide in, where Brian K. Morris, bless his fez-wearing head, comes in. Just I call on my folks a lot of these blessed lunatics out here, but you really are, and it inspires.
Well, I have to be. I have to be some sort of lunatic as I'm sitting here in my window.
Well, I mean, it could be worse. You could have a flashlight looking up, like, "Are you scared of the dark?" Oh God!
Don't tempt me.
Da da da! You see? There you go.
There we go.
So see, I am here.
Well, we know you're here, dear, and you are fabulous. But what you're going to find is, if you look at the myriad of things I do, I ended up doing Nick Knows Nerf because a couple people asked why on God's Green Earth, in your bizarre show, because the Nick Talkert channel, the Nicholas Talkert channel, that is, has a diverse set of shows. You have art shows. You dig in far enough, you'll find some of my early stop motion experiments and silly shenanigans like that. Why did I start reviewing and talking about Nerf guns? And it was part because I went to a library program and the kids didn't know how to operate them. We live in an era where toys are being replaced with screens, and books are being replaced with screens. And I'm not bashing screens, folks. I love screens. I love video gaming as much as any, card carrying geek. But there's stuff that is learned through physical play at any age. And when we sword fight and we're doing it right, we are playing. Don't ever get that confused. If you ever get to see Trelane and I, especially because we've been dancing together for, again, 20 years. God, we have. But it's play. It really is. It's frolicking with deadly precision. It's fun. And Nerf blasters do the same thing. They teach marksmanship, which teaches you to focus, to calm your mind down and decide to do one thing. Teaches spatial awareness, tactical and situational awareness. There's a lot of education that can be found. And from the hobby, you can get things like economic education, because these kids see the blasters. I don't have money. Okay. Don't buy them from Walmart. Look online. Go to thrift stores. Oh, you bought one and it doesn't work. Look up how to fix it. So then you can very rapidly go from a kid who just wants to try Nerf guns to there's somebody learning how to solder and figuring out how circuits work because they want their little foam flinger to fling foam faster.
Well, and even as adults, we're always learning. If you stop learning, you're giving up being living.
Oh, absolutely. I say that. I literally have a guy, Luke Goodman. He runs a company called Out of Darts. He wrote a book on Nerf modding, and it came in as a very small present to myself with my birthday coming up. And I'm looking through going, and that's how you fix that, and that's how you do that. It's why I have so many hobbies. I love studying and absorbing information and the connections that it makes. It keeps the little gray cells happy.
Not smooth. We can break a leak. So we got about 5 minutes before Grant's show starts.
Okay.
So I want everybody to get a chance to run to the bathroom and refill their drinks and everything because there's a lot of, interesting bladders in this chat. Sorry we didn't get to comments too much tonight. Thank you guys, everybody, for putting up with whatever this is. I appreciate it, and thanks for the giggles. Nick, or Joe, if you could, well, actually either one of you at that point in time, if you could pop up the for StompCon again one more time, please.
Oh, he beat me to the draw.
Ooh,
yes.
Look at you two fighting over it.
StompCon is free to the public indie tabletop gaming convention that will be held September 7th, 2024 from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern at the Benton County Co-op Extension at 410 South Aidway A, Fowler, Indiana, 47944. Like I said, guys, it is free to attend because I didn't want to make money at the cost of other vendors. That's why I do that format. I want the money to go to the vendors. I want the money to go to the businesses so that people can try a game, love it, and be able to actually purchase something or get a really cool bit of amiguri done by Trelana Bachman. Hashtag always promote. Or but
I'm just laughing because that's my thing. I always promote. Always. This weekend I was out doing some errands and it was always promote. I don't know how many people I talked to, and so
hashtag always promote. This is
Thank
the
you.
way. I am.
So okay.
And
Well,
yes, we know your show is coming up. We will be out of the way.
League of Cryptids too. Ooh,
yes.
Nice.
I wonder if there'll be any homages in there.
There's that word again. Better not find out it's an insult.
Anyway.
So, well, thank you, Nick, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Joe, for covering my unpowered, whatever you want to call this.
it's dramatic lighting, though.
Well, it
I know.
froze so perfectly and so in focus that I'm like, at first I was sitting here watching. I'm like, she's sitting real still, and then Nick, I could tell Nick was kind of trying to drag it on, and finally ran out of things to kind of tie together. And was there anything else you wanted to ask me? And about that time, you went bink. It's like, yeah, she gone.
Well, I was trying to hold up without switching over to host mode, because
Mhm.
a lot of times a camera will freeze up and you just have to bamf for 15 to 45 seconds and they're back, and do it right, nobody notices.
Right. But then I poofed. See,
And then-
guys, I used the word poof in there. See, that was me poofing. So, well, good. Have a good night, everybody. And we will see you. Of course, I don't have the date. I do have an NDCD 411 coming up. I believe it's September 15th, and that's going to be talking about Holocon. Any other members you want to jump in a show, let me know. ddoulis at ddoulisbpa at yahoo.com. And Nick, where's the best time to place to reach you?
Probably through the indcd.org/about Nicholas Tockert. That way you can get my email. Due to people trying to hack my site and my email through IndieCD constantly, I haven't been able to access that much. So I kind of have just let that be the stalking horse for those who dislike me. I'm best hit if you email nicholastockert.business@gmail for serious things, and nicholastockert@yahoo.com for shenanigans, silliness, and anything else. I'm on Twix, Twitter X. Just look up @ntockert. I'm on Blue Sky. Look up Nicholas Tockert. I'm standing, I'm in a show with Dawn, who's clutching the light and hoping that the noise out at the barn isn't going to take her prized calf, as Victorian horrors surround her. We could
Or I could be in the Appalachians talking about Haints and Hellfire, too. Oh, my gosh.
Yes. Don't worry if you see Mr. Black, just smile. But because if you see him, it's already over. And
Right.
On that front, beware of dandelions. But
Haints and Hellfire, too, folks. Haints and Hellfire, too.
Is there anything else I could do to be of service to you guys before our dear friend Brant, hemorrhages?
Nope. I believe we covered everything, and thank you guys tonight. Thank you guys for joining us in the chat. Sorry, like I said, we didn't get to it, but we can do this again, Nick, because there's always things we didn't cover.
Oh, yes. I'm always up to...
Yeah, and any Monday or Wednesday night that you want to take to do this show, Dawn.
It's
you guys, you members heard that.
Logically acquires tasks for himself till there's too much task, and then he doesn't know what to do. Hi, boss. How you doing?
Yeah, he's the boss.
I am not the boss. You guys are all nuts. But with that, folks, we will see you. We'll be back Wednesday night with a Burning His Yarn.
Sounds good.
Okay. See you Wednesday night. Thank you guys again.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.